The early Stone Age stretches before us as a quiet world, where a lone wanderer moves through wide grasslands with nothing but instinct as a guide. He studies shifting shadows across the plains, listens for distant animal cries, and follows the faint smell of rain carried by the wind. No spoken language shapes his thoughts, and no crafted tools wait in his hands. Each step demands care. Each choice depends on what the land reveals. Here begins the long journey of humans learning from the earth. Their future grows from these early moments of attention. Small groups gather near grasslands, moving with more purpose than before as they begin to notice the repeating signs around them. They learn that certain birds vanish before heavy rain, that softened soil often hides flowing water, and that plants return only during specific moments in the year. These clues guide them as they follow herds across long stretches of land, changing their routes with shifting seasons. Elders share these lessons through motions and memory, shaping a new way of thinking. The land becomes a silent teacher, and survival grows easier when every sign is read with care. Each step echoes lessons drawn from nature. A sudden drought sweeps across their valley, turning trusted waterholes into thick mud and leaving the grass brittle under their feet. Animals that once gathered nearby slip away, and plants fade quicker than the group can react. What felt like shelter now closes in around them, offering nothing. With no choice but to leave, they push toward unfamiliar ground, guided only by cracked soil hinting at hidden moisture, winds carrying scents of faraway storms, and faint westward tracks. Hardship changes them from quiet watchers into purposeful travelers on this journey. Exhaustion drags at their steps as they cross the dry plain, each breath rough from days without comfort. Hunger presses hard, yet they move on, guided by small hints the land offers, a cooler breeze sliding over their skin, certain birds circling low, the faint shift in color across distant hills. Their struggle reaches its height when they uncover a hidden pool tucked behind cracked stone. The sight steadies their spirits. This moment shows them that their survival comes from patience, courage, and the lessons the land quietly shares now. After enduring the drought, the group begins to see every detail of the land as a lesson. They memorize the shapes of clouds that signal storms, the scent of damp soil that hints at water, and the plants that remain green longest. These observations become stories passed from elder to child, forming memory long before words exist. Learning to read the earth transforms survival into skill. For the first time, humans plan ahead, predict change, and teach what they have learned, shaping the beginnings of a shared identity. A storm rolls across the open plains, dark clouds churning and wind whipping the tall grasses into a frenzy. A sudden bolt of lightning strikes, dry brush and flames erupt instantly, leaping across the land. The night becomes alive with crackling fire, a roaring wall of heat and orange light that sends shadows dancing across the terrified faces of a small group watching from a distance. By morning, the blaze has died down, leaving scattered warm embers glowing faintly in the ash. Most retreat, wary and cautious, but one curious figure steps closer. The heat is strange yet comforting, and in that moment, early humans glimpse fire not as a destroyer, but as a force that might serve them, a spark that will ignite the future. The group cautiously gathers around the leftover embers, small patches of warmth still glowing from the previous night's fire. They feed dry leaves and brittle branches into the fading glow, learning through trial and error how to make it last longer. the flames quickly become more than warmth. They form a shield against predators prowling the dark. Meat cooked over the fire is softer, easier to chew, and more nourishing, giving them strength for the journeys ahead. Slowly, the glow draws people into a circle, a space for rest, gestures, and shared understanding. Trust grows. Fire begins to shape daily life in ways they never expected. As the group grows more confident, they begin to wield fire with intention rather than fear. Hunters lift burning branches, guiding grazing animals toward carefully prepared traps. Spears of wood are hardened in the flames, sharper and stronger than ever before. Small clearings emerge where controlled burns have swept through, drawing herds and shaping the land to their advantage. Roots and plants cooked in the fire become new sources of nourishment, expanding their diet. Nights are no longer idle. They become moments of planning, sharing knowledge, and quiet cooperation. Curiosity transforms into skill, passed deliberately to the young. Fire strengthens body and spirit alike, turning scattered wanderers into an organized, resilient community. One night, a careless spark lands on a shelter made of dry grass, and flames erupt with terrifying speed. The group scrambles, hearts pounding, as fire devours the structure they had trusted for safety. Memories of the wildfire flash through their minds, panic rising with every crackle. Within minutes, the shelter collapses into ashes, leaving nothing behind. From this near disaster, a harsh lesson emerges. Fire can protect, but only when handled with care. Elders gather the group, teaching rules for guarding flames, building pits safely, and keeping dangerous materials away. Responsibility and careful decision-making are born from these hard lessons. As the group prepares to move to a new location, they make a choice that will change their relationship with fire forever. They will not leave it behind. Hunters carefully carry burning branches, each wrapped in protective leaves, stepping with steady focus to keep the flame alive across open land. The journey tests patience and cooperation, demanding careful attention from every member. When they finally reach the new campsite and the fire still burns, triumph surges through the group. Fire is no longer a random force of nature. It becomes a guide, a tool, and a symbol of unity that shapes their nights, tasks, and growing sense of control over the world around them. A hunter lifts a rough stone, testing its weight when it slips from his hand and shatters against another rock. Two sharp fragments fall into his palm, glinting in the sunlight, and the crisp sound of stone striking stone echoes across the clearing. Everyone nearby freezes, eyes widening in surprise. Until this moment, stones were nothing more than part of the ground they walked on, inert and ordinary. Now, one fragment feels like a tool waiting to be discovered. Curiosity takes hold as the group begins tapping stones together, noticing which angles create edges strong enough to slice meat or cut plants. A simple snap becomes the spark that changes how humans understand the world. Across open grasslands and along winding riverbanks, early groups begin to select rocks with purpose, searching for flint, chert, and obsidian because they fracture in predictable ways. Hands, learning through trial and careful observation, strike each stone with precision, transforming rough chunks into hand axes, scrapers, and sharp blades. These new tools expand what humans can do. Hides are cleaned faster, branches cut more efficiently, and wooden spears hardened for hunting. With stronger weapons, hunters coordinate attacks on animals once considered too dangerous. Travelers memorize paths, marking bent trees, cliffs, and star patterns, turning the land into living maps. Stoneworking becomes a shared skill, that strengthens both survival and confidence. A season arrives when the grazing herds vanish without warning, leaving the plains eerily silent. Trails that once guided the group are empty, and hunger spreads quickly among the families. Panic threatens, but instead of fleeing, they begin to study the world around them with careful attention. Kneeling beside old tracks, they examine the dryness of the soil, watch the wind's direction, and follow the movements of distant birds. Even the shapes of far-off hills tell a story of animals that passed. Slowly, a new kind of reasoning emerges. Survival now relies on reading patterns in nature, learning from evidence, and planning ahead rather than reacting to what is immediately visible. Following faint signs across unfamiliar plains, the group sets out on a long, careful journey. Armed with newly crafted stone points and sharpened spears, they move with a confidence that was once unimaginable. When the migrated herd finally appears, the hunt unfolds as a coordinated effort. People take positions, block escape routes, and respond to signals refined over many seasons. The tools they shaped with their own hands give them strength and precision, transforming the hunt. Their largest, most successful capture becomes a turning point, proving that skill, careful planning, and keen observation can conquer even the most daunting challenges in the wild. A small group steps carefully into the mouth of a cave, torches in hand, their flickering light casting shadows across the rough stone walls. As the flames dance, handprints appear, animal outlines stretch across the rock, and swirling shapes emerge from the darkness. Images left long before by people who will never speak again. These markings feel like voices carried across time. Until now, memory vanished quickly, held only in the minds of those who experienced events. The younger members watch in awe, understanding that each symbol was made with intention. The cave transforms into more than a shelter. It becomes a space where ideas endure, signaling the beginning of human expression beyond the moment. Communities begin to turn to art as a way to preserve knowledge and guide the next generation. Hunters paint the animals they rely on, illustrating where to strike and how each creature moves, ensuring skills are remembered. Small figures carved from bone and stone are worn for protection, identity, or ritual, carrying meaning beyond their simple shapes. Patterns in the night sky inspire maps, helping groups track seasonal migrations. Music arises too. Soft notes from bone flutes, steady drum beats, and low humming fill the night. These sounds bind people together, expressing emotions beyond words. Every painting, carving, and melody becomes memory, making life about more than survival. It is about remembering, teaching, and imagining. Burial sites begin to show careful attention. Flowers placed beside bodies, tools laid near hands, and red ochre sprinkled across the ground. These gestures reveal a new awareness. People are beginning to think beyond life, wondering where daily experience ends and something more begins. Camps transform into spaces where stories of ancestors are shared around the fire. Elders recount tales tied to the land, animals, and dangers of the past, teaching lessons that protect the living. Art, objects, and rituals gain emotional weight. Memory extends beyond the mind, held in symbols and practices that others can see, touch, and understand, ensuring that the past guides the present. When an early winter brings scarcity, the group turns to the carvings left by their ancestors, symbols depicting valleys where game returned during harsh seasons. They study each mark carefully, following the guidance etched in stone instead of relying on guesswork. The knowledge of those who came before reassures them. showing that survival is possible even in difficult times. Hope rises from the lessons preserved through art. These ancient signs become more than decoration. They are lifelines, guiding decisions and providing direction when the cold and hunger make every choice a matter of life or death. Reaching the valley depicted on ancient stone slabs feels like stepping into a promise kept. Herds gather exactly as the markings had predicted, providing food and safety for the group. Their survival comes from trusting the guidance passed down through images and stories, understanding that these symbols carry real power. From this moment, imagination is recognized as more than decoration. It protects and secures the future. Art becomes a bridge across generations, preserving experience, warnings, and hope. Human identity deepens as people learn to shape memory with their own hands, turning creativity into a tool for survival and understanding. A young girl stands quietly beside a riverbank, her eyes following the careful movements of her mother as she scatters seeds across the damp, dark soil. Until this day, their survival depended entirely on the herds they followed and the wild plants they foraged. But this simple gesture, planting tiny seeds in measured rows, marks the beginning of a profound change in human thinking. Families begin to observe which plants flourish near water or under the shelter of trees. Experimentation with small plots replaces endless wandering. The promise of growing food in one place offers stability. Soil becomes familiar, rain predictable, and a new bond forms between humans and the land. Families begin to anchor themselves along gentle rivers, open grassy plains, and valleys where rainfall is reliable. Livestock such as goats, sheep, and early cattle become part of daily life, offering steady sources of meat, milk, and hides. Stone tools transform to meet the demands of settled life. Sickles for harvesting ripened grain, grinding stones to process it, and sharper blades for shaping wooden implements. People start learning the rhythms of nature, tracking the moon's rise and fall, observing dry and wet seasons, and noticing how rivers swell after distant rains. As camps evolve into early villages with sturdier homes and storage pits, humans develop a profound understanding of place and time. The river rises with a sudden, unstoppable force, its water surging faster than anyone in the settlement has ever witnessed. Fields that once yielded plentiful harvests disappear beneath the churning currents. Homes collapse as wooden beams splinter, and baskets of stored grain drift helplessly downstream. The community faces the harsh reality of starting over, a challenge that would have driven earlier generations to abandon their lands in search of safer hunting grounds. Yet this time, the group does not flee. Elders gather the younger members, examining the bends, weakened banks, and patterns of debris left by the flood. From this careful observation emerges a vital lesson. Nature's fury can be studied, anticipated, and prepared for. Instead of fleeing, the group approaches rebuilding with careful thought and determination. They move homes to higher ground, dig channels to divert water, and reshape fields to shield crops from future floods. Raised dwellings lift families above rising currents, while storage pits lined with stone preserve grain through seasons of uncertainty. Work is shared. Some tend animals, others maintain waterways, and a few observe clouds and winds to predict storms. Slowly, the settlement thrives once more. Generational knowledge transforms past disasters into tools for survival. By shaping the land with intention, they no longer simply endure nature, they direct it. With each season, the community grows in strength and understanding. They no longer rely solely on luck or instinct. Instead, they read the patterns of soil, the rhythm of seasons, and the movements of animals to guide every choice. Children learn through carved markings, stories told by elders, and shared experience, absorbing knowledge that shapes their future. Confidence gained from surviving disaster fuels bolder projects, expanding fields, building sturdier homes, and creating early storage pits. These steps mark the transition from reactive survival to deliberate planning. By listening to the earth, humans lay the foundations for civilizations that will endure for millennia.